Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for watching another video. So tonight we're going to have a look at this awesome OBD2 scanner from Kingbolen. This is the S500. And as always, guys, if at the ending of the video you want to purchase this awesome OBD2 scanner from Kingbolen and help support the channel, make sure you check out the link in the description below because we do get a commission when you purchase this item. And of course, before getting started, just want to thank the good folks out at Kingbolen for sending me out this unit to review. Let's get started. Alright, here is the first OBD2 scanner that I bought maybe about 10 years ago. And it's pretty basic, not too fancy. There's no color screen, very small screen. And the reason I bought this is because I wanted to get better at fixing my own car, doing my own repairs so I didn't have to worry about paying that $150, $200 per hour labor when you take it to a mechanic. And this did great for many, many years. However, as the quality of car repair videos got better on YouTube, and in turn I started to get a little bit better at car repair and diagnosis, I needed something better. I needed something with more capability. And I started messing around with other OBD2 readers about the size. Some of them had color screens. But I realized I needed specific things to help me diagnose what was going wrong with my car. Something with a little bit more features. Now, after going through many of the smaller handheld OBD2s, I realized I really wanted a couple things. Number one, I wanted a larger screen. Number two, I really needed graphing capability because when you're looking at live data, it's easier to see that pattern. Now, some mechanics are very good. They can just look at the numbers and kind of tell. But for me, I need to see it in a graph to see what patterns they're creating. And having a color screen really helps separate the data streams as you're going along. And a lot of handheld OBD2 scanners of this size have a lot of features that I just wasn't going to use, and the price gets more expensive. But the S500 fits perfectly in my budget and for my current capabilities. Let me give you a tour around the S500. All right, let's get you guys some measurements here. Lengthwise, what you guys thinking? About 8.5 inches across this way, and then widthwise coming in at just about what's that? 4.5 inches. And then thickness-wise, just about an inch thick. Let's get this on the scale. All right, the S500 on the scale coming in at 1 pound, 2.2 ounces. Just in case you're wondering what 1 pound, 2.2 ounces feels like, well, it's just about the same weight as a 16.9 ounce bottle of water. All right, what we're looking at here is basically an Android tablet. This is running Android 6.0. Color screen. Screen size is about 5 inches. This is both a touch screen or you can navigate around with these controls here. And if you look a little bit closer, you're going to see that I have 57% battery remaining. That's because internally we have a 1500 milliamp battery that does charge when the data cable is plugged into your OBD2 port. Internally, the S500 comes with 2 gigs of RAM that is expandable up to 256 gigs of RAM. We have 32 gigs of ROM, and that is more than enough memory to keep this going. On the top of the S500 is where you're going to plug in your OBD2 cable. This is your on and off switch. On the right side, we have a flap that is housing where the micro SD slot is and where your USB-C on-the-go cable is going to plug in. And the S500 does come with that. So if you want to connect this to a computer, you can do it through this. All right, let me show you a couple of readings that I use when I'm purchasing a new used car. All right, here we go. I got the S500 plugged into my car's OBD2 port. And as promised, as we can see here in the upper right-hand corner, it is charging that internal 1500 milliamp battery. And then if we shift our focus to the upper left-hand corner, we have 12.5 volts. That is the current state of charge of my battery. And this is an important piece of information to have. I'm going to click on this, and you're going to see that it plots it for us on a graph. Now, we know the battery is looking good right now. If I start the car and it stays that way, I probably have a bad alternator because that voltage should go up to something like 14.7, 14.9. Let's give it a go. Right, little bit of a drop as expected, and right back up to 14.6. Can we get 14.7? Should even out there. Not bad. That looks normal. And also very similar to Android and Apple iPhones and tablets, there is a pull down from top menu. So this is your Wi-Fi connectivity. This is how you're going to do all of your firmware upgrades and software upgrades. And keeping in mind, those are all free. There's no subscription service for this. This is your screen record. That is your screen capture. So just a snapshot of the screen. And this is how you flip your screen upside down. Maybe you're underneath your car and you want to make sure to get that screen in the right position. That'll flip the screen upside down. And of course, here is your brightness settings. And to navigate around the S500, once again, you can either use the touch screen or you can use the physical buttons, whatever you feel comfortable using. Now, most of us are going to use diagnostics and OBD2, but just to kind of show you around the menu, the maintenance options shows you the 4 different systems that the S500 can connect to. That's back out of there. File is where all of your captured images and saved vehicles are going to be at. Settings, of course, is going to be things like setting your metric or imperial, those types of settings. You can enter into the repair info button when you find your digital trouble code and look up other videos in here. And then, of course, here is where you're going to get your software updates. Let's jump into both of these menus here. Now, for the cars that I buy and work on, mostly late 90s, early 2000s, I don't really need to have vision into all of the systems in the car, and that's why I primarily use the OBD2 menu. So let's start up the car, and let's have a look at what you can do in this OBD2 menu. So when you open this up, it's going to scan for what type of protocol it needs. So we'll let it do that. All right, the scan should almost be done. And once it is, we will have a summary of all the information that is available in my PCM. So I have 1 DTC code, 7 readiness monitors are good. I don't have access to 3 of those. And I got 20 data streams that are available. We can check ignition, and if you're interested in the protocol type, there it is. But if we want to get a little bit deeper in the menu, you just select which one you want, and then you hit enter. And this will get us into the data stream mode. All right, look at all this great live data we have from the PCM. Now, the first one that I go to when I'm buying a car from someone is this IM readiness. We want to see all of the monitors and sensors that we have access to be in ready status. This means that the car has at least been driven through 1 cycle, and if any trouble codes were going to pop up, they would have popped up in that cycle. These are the same monitors that when you go to a smog check, if you live in a state that has smog check, they look for these to be active. If these are all in not ready status, they know that you've disconnected the battery. Now, this is why I use the IM readiness monitors as a question when I'm buying from someone. So I'll ask the seller, hey, have you disconnected the battery? If they tell me yes, hey, no problem. I'm expecting these to be in not ready status. But if I ask them, hey, have you disconnected the battery? And they tell me, no, I have not disconnected the battery, and all of these are in not ready status, they could potentially be lying to you. It hasn't been driven through its full cycle yet. So they've disconnected that battery, perhaps maybe to hide a DTC code from you. And if that was the case, if they told me that they didn't and these monitors are not in ready status, then I would assume that they're trying to hide something. And at that point, I would just walk away from the sale. All right, let's take a step backwards to the main menu and investigate this MIL status. So that's your malfunction indicator lamp, otherwise known as your check engine light. So that checks out there, reads there, because it has thrown a DTC code. So let's select that and find out what that is. All right, we're going to read fault code here. Select the right manufacturer, which will be Toyota. And in Toyota language, it'll tell you P0420, so catalyst system efficiency below threshold, which either means that there's something wrong with the catalytic converter, the O2 sensors. Most likely, there's an introduction of air someplace. I have a vacuum leak sucking more air into something in the engine compartment, and it's making this reading pop up. Now, of course, with this valuable information, you can take it to YouTube and they'll teach you how to troubleshoot this thing for whatever car you have. Or you can try to use, remember from the first screen, you do have a place where you can check out the repair info here. And it just gives you a brief summary. Let me show you what that looks like real quick here. So it's a P P0420. Okay, where's the check mark here? Okay. And it gives you a brief explanation as to what the P0420 is. But that's how you get that valuable information out of your car's computer so you can utilize it and repair your car yourself. Now, of course, when you have your repair done, you can go ahead and clear your fault codes just like this. And then when you look to where the check engine light was, no longer there. So that's how you clear the codes when you have a DTC. Alright, we're back at the main menu now. Let's take a couple more readings to see if we can find what's going on with that trouble code. So let's go back into read live data. And we want to make sure that we're in closed loop before we take any more readings. That way we know that the computer has control over the system. So we're going to take a quick fuel systems reading and click OK. And we should see a CL right next to it. Okay, we are in closed loop. That's great. Now from this menu, you can hit select all and it'll give you the live data for all of these other systems that we have. But let's start off with the oxygen sensors. Okay, I selected 1 and 2 and okay. Now we should have some voltage reading here and it gives you the range where your sensor should be reading, and they're doing pretty good. Now if we click on these, it'll graph it. Okay, this is sensor 1 and this is what I like to see. Now if we go back, we can select combine both of these, and now we can see both sensor 1 and sensor 2 plotted on the graph, and because of the color screen we can see how they're doing versus each other. That is looking good. Alright, we are back to the main menu in the live data stream, and we're going to have a look at long-term and short-term fuel trim. If you can get good at examining this type of information, you can figure out exactly what's going wrong with your automobile. So there is a long-term fuel trim, and we want to do short-term. Okay, there is bank 1, sensor 1, and sensor 2, and we're going to hit OK. Alright, it's going to give us the reading here. So, wow, okay, sensor 1 is looking good. Sensor 2 should be reading something, so that could be an issue there. And again, on the side here, it gives you the range that is acceptable for your vehicle. Let's combine these and have a look at the graph here. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Except that you can see the short-term fuel sensor 2 is just flat. All right, let's take a quick look into the diagnostics tab here. Now, you can do an auto search on your vehicle. It's automatically going to populate your VIN and all that. I'm going to have to manually put mine in because my car is so old. So let's go in here and I'll be right back. All right, punched in my VIN number, and now you're presented with this menu here, and you can just click on this thing here that says health report. It'll do a quick scan, and all the results are going to end up in this side. So we'll just wait for it to complete the scan there. Alright, the scan is done. I have a trouble code in the SRS systems. Remember, the diagnostic tab gives you more access to more of your systems in your car. That's why this didn't show up in the OBD2 tab. Let's see what's going on in there. B0106 open in passenger squib circuit. Alright, I got to research that. And again, you can get in here and clear this out, but I'm just going to leave that alone. Back at the main menu of the diagnostic tab, and here we can see we can select system selection. You can do all system scan, or we can just go into the powertrain because that's where the action is at, and we'll read just the engine module here. And again, we can hit the read data stream and you can select any one of these again. But that's how you use the diagnostic tab. Once again, guys, this has been the S500 from Kingbolen. If you're looking for an OBD2 scanner with a big screen that's easy to read, that's going to give you all of the information to get your car repairs done yourself or go out and buy used cars without getting ripped off, this might be a great option for you. Well, alright guys, this is the ending of the video. Remember, if you want to purchase this awesome OBD2 scanner from Kingbolen, make sure you check out the link in the description below. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.